Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 121, coming at you from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you listen to podcasts, with your videos on YouTube, of course. And one hell of a show we got today. But before we jump in, obviously I'm rocking the Steelers throwback jersey. They're going to be rocking them in Acrisure Stadium Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers against his former team that he played like 18 years with, the Green Bay Packers. Your boy's going to Pittsburgh for the second time in my life. I am absolutely hyped to go see some football. On Saturday, we're going to catch some Pittsburgh football as well. So a little double dip in Acrisure Stadium. And UFC action this weekend, early card, which will be fun because I'll be on the East Coast, so it won't be so early. And this past weekend, had my best friend and his family come. Got to get some good rounds of golf in, some family activities. It was a perfect 80-something degrees. Got to chill by the pool still. Got some of my tan back. Your boy is feeling good. And I'm feeling good about the past couple weeks in MMA because we have some awesome fights that have been announced. We will recap this weekend's wild UFC Vancouver card and preview this weekend's pay-per-view UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. So let's jump right in. Some fights that have been announced. We have Nasrat Haqparast taking on Quillian Salkid this weekend. We'll talk about that. On November 8th, we have Muslim Salikov taking on Yarosh Medic. That's a great fight, as well as this one in the flyweight. Matt Schnell and Joseph Morales. We also have Robert Valentin taking on Jackson McVeigh. And Marco Tullio taking on Christian Leroy Duncan. Some solid fights for that November 8th Apex card. I believe it's an Apex card. A couple more fights added to UFC 322. We have Cody Hayden in against Malcolm Wellmaker as Sergey Sidi is injured and pulled out. And we also have another high-quality fight, Chepe Mariscal and Pat Sabatini. I mean, these final pay-per-views of the years are absolutely bonkers. We'll talk about them next week. November 22nd, we have Muhammad Naimov taking on Myron Santos. And Nicholas Dalby taking on Segid Izakmaev. Then announced today, Jalen Turner out of his short stint retirement. I knew it was too good to be true. Taking on the veteran Edson Barboza in an absolute banger. And then December 13th, we have Morgan Scherer taking on Melquizil Costa. Some roster news. We have Andre Muniz, Brogan Walker, Justin Tafa, Arena Alexieva, and Danny Barlow, who fought this weekend off the UFC roster. So let's talk about UFC Vancouver. I went 7-5 on my picks. Barely stayed above 500 here. But overall, I'm at 734 wins, 364 losses, 9 no contests and draws. On the year, 250 wins, 122 losses, 2 no contests and draws. To recap on what went down in Canada, 6 out of the 7 prelim fights were finishes early. There was definitely some big momentum swings where fighters started really hot, but their opponents came on late. But none of the fights were bad fights. But the main card started with some really weird shit happening that we'll talk about later. The crowd was loud and proud per usual, as they are in Canada. I am in a MMA group chat, and a guy said it best, because I didn't get to watch these live. I watched them at the end of my night. The main card seemed like the Twilight Zone. Dan Murgliata had his fingerprints all over it. We'll break that down more. And the main card definitely had some moments and some good finishes, but for me was a little underwhelming. Canada ended up going 6-2 on the evening, so a good night for Canada fighters. I am recapping this a 5 out of 10. I previewed it a 7 out of 10. Some good fights we will not break down. We had Melissa Croden with a round 3 TKO over Tainara Lisboa. We had Yusri Belgori with a round 3 TKO over Azamat Bakoev. And both Lisboa and Bakoev started this fight really hot. They didn't finish, though. They definitely wore out as the fight went on. And then we had Stephanie Luciano with a round 3 submission via rear naked choke over Avina Oliveira. But let's kick this off with a nice little underdog win in the prelims. We had Djorden Santos with a unanimous decision over Danny Barlow. And I told you this fight was going to be pure chaos because that's what happens when Djorden Santos fights. I mean, Santos just kept marching forward and bringing the pressure to Barlow. He had the striking speed advantage, but Danny landed some nice combos, and when he would rip some of those combos, they were very clean and powerful. Round 1 was a very close round, back and forth. I just thought Santos landed the more damaging strikes. And then in round 2, Barlow let his hands go more and actually led the distance from the battle from distance, led the dance, so to speak. Both men did land some big shots, and both men landed a good amount of leg kicks. There was no wrestling in the game plan. It was all kickboxing. You know, Santos was focusing on pressure and volume, while Danny was looking for powerful combos and the kill shot. And you could see Barlow, he's a big muscular guy, starting to slow down in round 3. And Santos came back way better than his hairline did. I mean, come on, bro. Let's just go bald. That hairline was looking rough. But Santos kind of broke Barlow throughout the fight to steal the win. Definitely a tough loss for Barlow. You know, he's just in the start of his prime. Come to find out today, he's cut from the UFC roster. But hey, Santos still very green, still very wild, but gets a massive boost to his stock. He's only 28 years old. Statistically, Danny landed 106 total strikes, 93 of them significant. Santos landed 109 total, 99 of them significant. So you could see it was a very even fight. Santos is also 0 for 1 in takedowns with 1 minute and 55 seconds of control time. So now Djorden starts a new winning streak. He moves to 2-1 in the UFC. Danny extends his losing streak to 2. He is 3-2 in the UFC. So what's next? Well, we don't need to worry about Danny no more. So for Djorden, how about fellow Contender Series alum Torres Finney? That would be interesting. Moving on to the flyweights. We had Bruno Silva with a round 3 submission via rear naked choke over Hyunsung Park. And I mean, what a massive win and performance by Bruno. And hey, you know, Park, back-to-back losses in a couple months, is a very skilled fighter. But Bruno was pressuring Park, and he had success striking into takedowns each round. Not only to control Hyunsung on the canvas, but to stay in his face so Hyunsung couldn't get comfortable striking from distance and getting his own offensive wrestling going. You know, Bruno does well when he doesn't stay at kickboxing range and makes it ugly. And that's exactly what he did in pretty much a must-win fight. And Park couldn't shake Silva off of him, and that cost him. He now has 2 losses in 3 months, while Bruno keeps living around the top 15 and gets his first win since July of 2024. Statistically, Bruno landed 60 total strikes, 46 of them significant. He had 5 takedowns in 9 attempts, a submission attempt, a knockdown, and 4 minutes and 49 seconds of control time. Now, Hyunsung landed 58 total strikes, 31 of them significant. He had 1 takedown in 4 attempts with 42 seconds of control time. So Bruno ends that 2-fight losing streak. He starts a new winning streak. He's 3-2 since 2023. And Hyunsung extends his losing streak to 2. He is 3-2 in the UFC since 2023. So where do these guys go next? I would love to see Bruno take on Tim Elliott, a little vet affair. And I think that would be a fantastic fight. And for Park, he could square up with Alessandro Costa. Moving on. We had Aoriqileng with a round 1 TKO over Cody Gibson. Performance of the night, 50 G's to Aoriqileng. And I mean, what a massive moment for Aoriqileng, as he got a quick finish with a big, powerful loopy hook that caught Cody off guard right off rip. Definitely a brutal loss when you spend all that time and effort and energy and you lose via, a 30-second TKO. Cody's lifeline is very slim at this point, but Aoriqileng puts himself in a position for a big win. So statistically, It only took Aoriqileng 6 total and 5 significant strikes with the knockdown. Cody only landed 3 total and significant. So Aoriqileng starts a new winning streak. He's 2-1 since 2023. And Cody extends his losing streak to 2. He is 2-4 since 2023. So what's next? I'd like to see Aoriqileng and Chris Gutierrez. That's the fight to make. And for Cody, he could try to rebound against Cameron Simon. Moving on, we have Drew Dober with a round 3 TKO over Kyle Prepolec. And as we know, Drew Dober always brings the action. His pace is always insane. And he started bringing the fight towards Kyle, combo after combo, right in Kyle's face. And Kyle was pretty defensive, but he did land some good shots as well. As the fight wore on, Drew had more success, but couldn't get Kyle out of there. I mean, Kyle's tough and durable. Both men, in my opinion, were in a must-win scenario, and Drew's boxing looked very clean. He landed some good leg kicks that wore on Kyle throughout the fight as well. But a big win for Drew, even though he didn't get a finish, and it wasn't from a lack of effort to try to get a finish. But Kyle never seemed to find the mark, and he was beaten up pretty good. So statistically, Kyle landed 51 total and significant strikes. He was 0 for 3 in takedowns. And Drew landed 85 total and 83 significant, so about 30 more, while going 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. So now Drew puts an end to that 3-fight losing streak. He does start a new winning streak. He's 2-4 since 2023. And Kyle extends his losing streak to 2. He is now 0-4 in his 2 UFC stints. So what's next? Again, I'm not sure that Kyle fights in the UFC, so I won't book a fight for him. But for Drew, how about Diego Fajeda? That is an absolute banger. 2 high-paced offensive veterans. Let's have it. Then in the main card, we had Kyle Nelson with a unanimous decision over Matt Frevola. And this is where we entered the twilight zone. I mean, this fight was pretty measured to start. Matt got a takedown, but Kyle was able to get back up. Once he started flowing at the end of the first round, Kyle put Frevola on his ass and rained down some nasty ground and pound. I thought about 10 of those hammer fists and ground and pound shots were unnecessary, as Matt was clearly out, but all that pounding on his face and bouncing off the canvas woke him back up. But was even more weird is that clearly looking at the replay, and I saw it live and I was pretty tuned up at this point, that Dan had called the fight with 3 seconds left, but somehow the fight was continued. How that's continued, I'm not sure. Like, do we have some sort of, I don't know, group that watches over these fights? Like, hey, this probably should not even be a legal continuance of this fight if you ask me. Because Matt clearly didn't know where he was and couldn't even walk right after the round. And what pisses me off even more is the team on the desk, including Daniel Cormier, didn't attack the issue at hand. They just acted confused on the mic. But I mean, come on. This is very unacceptable. Kyle was robbed of a round 1 finish. And although he still won via decision, I mean, not only is this super unhealthy for Matt Frevola's, brain, really, but it's not good look for the UFC. This is on Disney. I just can't do anything but shake my head. But things got even more interesting because the rest of the fight, of course, turned into a bar brawl. It was very sloppy. Technique was basically thrown out the window, and both men were just reacting at this point. They weren't thinking. It was a low IQ fight for the rest of the fight. Matt, give him credit, came back and landed some shots that rocked Kyle. And wildly enough, after pretty much being knocked out in round 1, came back to win round 2. But round 3, Kyle dominated and took the round to win the fight. And although Matt was somewhat able to recover, he never did seem right. That's how we give a fighter CTE and some serious brain injuries. I think this fight should be reviewed. Dan should be suspended. And whoever else is involved in the decision to continue this fight, there should be some suspensions there as well. I mean, this is pure Bush League shit. I felt like this was something that you see on a small regional show. But at the UFC level, this can't happen at all. I mean, not at all. But hey, Matt now in a pretty brutally tough spot, probably fighting for his UFC life. But a big win for Kyle as he's still at the edge of his prime. But again, the first round was absolutely shocking. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And how this was decided to continue blows my freaking mind. But enough about that. Statistically, Kyle landed 92 total strikes, 63 of them significant. He went 2 for 5 in takedowns, had a knockdown in 3 minutes and 11 seconds of control time. Now, Matt landed 60 total strikes, so 32 less, 43 significant, so 20 less. He was 2 for 3 in takedowns, had a reversal, and 1 minute and 58 seconds of control time. So now Kyle starts a new winning streak. He is 4-1-1 since 2023, and Matt extends his losing streak to 3. He is 1-3 since 2023. So what's next? I want to see Kyle take on Jamie Malarkey, and for Matt, if he's still with the UFC, he could take on longtime veteran Jim Miller. Moving on, we had Charles Jourdain with a round 1 submission via guillotine choke over Davey Grant. Performance of the night, Mr. Canada, Charles Jourdain. And I honestly thought coming into this fight that Davey would push Charles and put him into deep waters. And as I was watching the beginning of the round, I was mentioning to my best friend that Charles always does these way out-of-pocket flying knees. Right at that moment, he did one. Seemed super unnecessary. But seconds later, he landed one clean right on the chin of Grant for a quick round 1 finish as he blocked in a guillotine. You know, I know that Charles has great submission ability, but as rocked as Davey is, I would have liked to see him pounce on him for a TKO finish, but he did get the finish regardless. But this is a big-time win for Charles at bantamweight. I feel like Grant now, with a loss like that, is this much closer to retirement after that brutal knockout. He was pretty beat up and bloodied. I mean, that flying knee landed flush. But statistically, it only took Charles 25 total insignificant strikes with the submission and the knockdown, and Davey only landed 9 total insignificant strikes. He never really got going. So Charles extends his winning streak to 2. He is 4-2 since 2023, and Davey ends his 2-fight winning streak. He does start a new losing streak. He is 3-2 since 2023. So what's next? Well, Charles is right near the top 15. I'd love to see him have a showdown with Rob Font. And for Davey, Gene Matsumoto is the fight to make next. Moving on, we had Manon Fiorot with a round 1 TKO over Jasmine Jasudavicius. And I honestly thought Manon was just going to absolutely bully Jasmine in this fight. But she made slight work of her with her power. And you could debate this was an early stoppage. But after what we saw in the opening main card fight with Frevola, you know, they weren't going to play around anymore. Manon, I think, would have got the finish anyways. If you ask me, it was probably a good stoppage. You know, I understand Jasudavicius' standpoint of like, I'm a pro, let it play out. But Manon, again, continues to show why she's the number 1 contender at the flyweight division. And as I expected, Jasmine just isn't at that level. She does need to fight some of the top talent in the division because on her winning streak, she kind of leapfrogged a lot of the top women. Statistically, it only took Manon 17 total and 16 significant strikes, and Jasmine only landed 2 total and significant strikes. So Manon starts that new winning streak. She moves to 3-1 since 2023 and moves right into that number 1 spot. And Jasmine ends that impressive 5-fight winning streak, starts a new losing streak, and drops 2 spots in the rankings to number 7. So what's next? Well, I think it's pretty plain and simple here. Manon and Natalia Silva is the only fight to make for the true number 1 contender spot. I think that would be a gem of a fight. And for Jasmine, I'd like to see her take on Casey O'Neill. Canada gets back on track here as we had Aiemann Zahabi with a split decision victory over Marlon Vera. And man, I hammered this to the T last week. Marlon needed to be the pressure against Zahabi and throw enough volume to win a decision, because if it was going to go to the distance and he just stayed in his defensive stance, kind of sitting there taking pictures and not putting it all out there, it would cost him. And boy, did it. I mean, sure, he knocked Aiemann down in the second and was very close to a finish, but he didn't make sure it was a finish. He just sat there and looked at Zahabi as he got up. He didn't pounce on Zahabi. He let him get back up and recover. And once he got up, it wasn't like he was pouring on combos and pressuring him. I mean, he averaged like 15 strikes a round. I said that Marlon needed to average about 30, and he cut that in half. I know he was upset, but he didn't go out there and make certain that he got the win. I just think Marlon needs to pressure his opponent and keep attacking methodically, but he only threw 21 strikes in round 2 when he knocked Zahabi down, 11 in round 1, and 24 in round 3. Like I said, I think he needed to average more than 30. He was landing good body kicks throughout the fight. Why not throw more of those? It's not like Zahabi's going for takedowns. Neither guy attempted a takedown either. I think Marlon's capable of doing that. And as upset that Marlon was that he didn't win the fight, he truly felt like he did. I think he did win round 2. I think if he would have pounced on Zahabi and went after it, if he didn't get the finish, it would have been a 10-8 round, but he didn't take advantage of that either. The reality is he lost rounds 1 and 3, and it's a damn shame he didn't take advantage of his position in round 2. And in round 3, he didn't go and put a stamp on the fight to assure his victory. I honestly don't understand what Cheeto's thinking at this, in the octagon. What was his corner telling him? To me, it's just pathetic at this point. Because Cheeto is very capable and he works his ass off. You want to root for the guy. But I do think Cheeto is ruining his prime, to be honest. He's going to be on the outside looking in now. And Zahabi keeps rolling. Although it wasn't pretty, he just did enough. Especially after being completely rocked in round 2. And then come to find out, on the Ariel Helwani show this week, Aiemann Zahabi said he fractured his left forearm. It was a clean break. You could see it. So he finished the fight with more pride and more grit and determination than Marlon, who could have easily won the fight with a broken forearm. It's like insult to injury. But hey, Zahabi was able to get his head clear in round 2 and fight a clear round 3. His brother, his corner, everybody didn't even know that he broke his forearm. Pretty impressive. Props to Aiemann Zahabi. Now, statistically, Marlon landed 56 total and significant strikes with the knockdown, and Zahabi landed 81 total and significant strikes. So Aiemann now extends that winning streak to 7. I don't care who you are, who you fought. A 7-fight winning streak in the bantamweight division needs to be celebrated. And with that, he moves up 2 spots in the rankings to number 7. And Marlon extends his losing streak to 3. He is 1-4 since 2023. And he drops 1 spot to number 8. So Aiemann was ready. He had his call-outs ready. I just don't think he's going to get what he wants. I think a fight with Vinicius Oliveira is next for him. And for Marlon, I think a fight with Marcus McGee is an absolute banger. And that's the fight to book. Moving on. We had Mike Malott with a unanimous decision over Kevin Holland. And here again, we're back in the twilight zone. I mean, I mentioned many times I am never picking Kevin against top-level competition ever again. Because he's clearly in the octagon looking to get paid, collect a paycheck. He doesn't seem to be taking things seriously, like improving his game. It doesn't seem like he ever has a game plan. He's not really in there trying to take advantage of his opponent's weaknesses. I thought Mike barely clipped Kevin in the cup, and Dan put us back in the twilight zone again, because Kevin, while he was in the octagon, wasn't trying to use his 5 full minutes. He clearly acted like it had affected him, but then he said, okay, I'm ready to fight. And Dad said, no, you still have 3 more minutes. So Kevin went back. Then he acted like his dick was going to fall off again. It was a really weird scene. But on the other end, this was the second low blow. He had warned Mike before. He didn't take a point. Everything just seemed to be super awkward here. And Kevin definitely took his time. And it didn't seem genuine. It seemed like he was acting to me. After the fight, he went on X and said that, he definitely was injured. I don't know. You guys watch it back and tell me what you think. I'm pretty confident that this was an acting job. And then every time they said something about what Holland wanted to do, he didn't answer. Like, hey, do you want to continue to fight? What do you want to do? Because he was hoping that he would get a point taken away or maybe even a DQ victory so he could get paid his winning bonus. because UFC fighters get paid half and half of your money to show up, half to win. So he was trying to find the easy way out. But when the fight actually resumed and took place, Mike started slow, and Kevin did just enough to win round 1, scoring a takedown in my opinion. And the rest of the fight, he wasn't fighting a good fight. He was all over the place. Mike was able to do more as he was the fighter controlling the distance and pressuring Kevin. He's also got a big takedown in round 3, and Kevin just kind of sat there accepting bottom position. Again, the scenes here, it just made for a really weird card, main card at least, and definitely took some luster out of it. I would love to see these two really go at it, right? And I was hoping Kevin would be prepared, and it didn't seem like he had any kind of game plan or strategy. Breaking down the stats, Kevin landed 76 total strikes, 52 of them significant with the takedown. And Mike landed 50 total, 49 significant. He had 1 takedown in 4 attempts, a submission attempt, a reversal, and 2 minutes and 31 seconds of control time. So Mike now extends his winning streak to 3. He's 5-1 since 2023. He enters the rankings at number 15. And Kevin extends his losing streak to 2. He is 5-6 since 2023. Yes, he's active, and he is 2-2 at welterweight. So what's next? Well, I would like to see Mike take on Daniel Rodriguez. Those two can square up. And for Kevin, he could take on Islam Dulatov. Then in the main event, more Twilight Zone. We had Brendan Allen with a round 4 TKO over Reinier de Ridder. And this was just a weird fight. Much like I said about Manon, I thought RDR was going to go in there, take Mike down relentlessly and bully him in there. Well, in round 1, he did get a takedown. He had his hooks in and was in total control of Allen, which I would assume lead to him wearing on Allen and gassing him out for the next few rounds and potentially get a finish. But that was not the case at all. The rest of the rounds were a completely different fight. After a dominant round 1, RDR pretty much did absolutely nothing. I mean, round 2, there wasn't a ton of action, but Allen did outstrike RDR as he looked to be completely gassed. And after Allen was able to get back up after being taken down, I mean, he had him in a body triangle. He was able to reverse it. It was very impressive. He could barely stand up. The refs were like, hey, you got to get up, like, for the fight to continue. It seemed like they might actually stop the fight pretty early. Well, the fight did continue, and in round 3, RDR shot desperately again, but was so sloppy and tired, Allen reversed him and punished him with ground and pound for the rest of the fight. I mean, he landed some nice elbows. RDR had pretty much seemed toast, and he had him in like a body triangle from bottom, which just goes to show he was kind of accepting the bottom position. He wasn't looking for submissions, wasn't looking to create space on the hips and get back up. And we haven't seen something like this from RDR. I saw on social media, whether, I can validate it or not, that this has happened for RDR in the one promotion before. But it just seemed like he was just trying to hold on for dear life and get the fight over with. Well, after round 4, his corner threw in the towel, so it was a TKO finish for Allen. Not the way you want to see a main event play out. Basically, one of the opponents only fighting 5 minutes. But supposedly coming in, Reinier de Ridder was sick. Maybe he was injured as well. I could believe that because he didn't look like the RDR who defeated Robert Whittaker. He'd been put in deep waters before and fought well to the finish of the fight. But all I can say is if Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy, was fighting, he would have dominated RDR. And it's a damn shame he got injured, but definitely a lackluster main event to say the least. But who's the big benefactor? Clearly Brendan Allen, right back in the mix, pretty much throwing the division in complete chaos. Now statistically, RDR landed 61 total strikes, only 9 of them significant. He was 3 for 7 in takedowns, had a submission attempt, and 7 minutes and 5 seconds of control time. And Brandon landed 92 total, so 36 more, only 22 significant, had a takedown, a submission attempt, 2 reversals, and 11 minutes and 39 seconds of control time. So basically 2 total rounds, and a lot of RDR's control time was in round 1. Regardless, Allen extends his winning streak to 2. He is now a pristine 6-2 since 2023. He's been active as well. And he moves up 4 spots in the rankings to number 5. Now, RDR ends that 5-fight winning streak. He moves to 4-1 since 2023. And he drops 4 spots in the rankings to number 8. So what's next? Well, Brendan and Kyle Barlow is the fight to make. And for RDR, how about Jared Cannonier? But again, it was just some weird instances with the main event, the Kevin Holland fight, even the Aiemann Zahabi fight. Like, Marlon, what are you doing? Quick wins for Jourdain and Manon Fiorot. And the very, very weird start of the main card with Kyle Nelson and Matt Frevola. But some of the earlier fights were pretty good. That's why I gave it a 5 out of 10. But this weekend, certified box office, UFC 321. The prelims at 7 a.m. Pacific. The main card at 11 a.m. Pacific, all on ESPN+. I mean, this card is absolutely stacked. The rest of the pay-per-views, bravo to the UFC. Pristine cards. There's some major fights mixed with some good matchmaking early on the card. I think every single fight on the main card is a banger, and I am as sure will be violent fights that will deliver. None of this Kevin Holland BS. I can't wait for this one. I'm recapping or previewing it an 8 out of 10. A couple good fights we will not break down. We have Jacqueline Amarim taking on Mizuki, Azat Maxim taking on Mitch Raposo, and Hamdi Abdulwahab taking on Chris Barnett. So let's kick this off in the prelims. We have Jose Delgado, 27 years old with a 10-1 record, taking on Nathaniel the Prospect Wood, 32 years old with a 21-6 record. Now, what a fun fight this is this early in the prelims. I mean, Nathaniel is coming off a big win. He has a bunch of momentum in the middle of his prime, but he is taking on a very good up-and-comer in Delgado, who is coming off the biggest win of his career and now gets a big leap in competition. I do think Jose is more well-rounded and has more finish potential, but what is technical? He has good defense and he is susceptible to takedowns, so I do expect Jose to test him in that department. Breaking this down, Jose trains here in Phoenix out of the MMA lab. He's a UFL, Cage Warriors, Tough Enough, LFA, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 7-fight winning streak, 3-0 in the UFC. 6 of his 10 wins are via knockout, 4 via submission. So all 10 of his wins come via finish. I mean, this guy is an absolute finisher, and he has a 4-inch reach advantage. Now, Nathaniel trains out at Great Britain Top Team. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a Cage Warriors alum and former champ with 2 successful title defenses. And I would say if we rank promotions getting into the UFC, Cage Warriors is right there on the top. But he is on a 2-fight winning streak and is 3-1 since 2023. And 8 of his 21 wins are via knockout. Now, I really do expect Jose to be the fighter coming forward, mixing in a bunch of attacks and takedowns. His knee up the middle is an absolute unit of a machine attack. And Nathaniel, he hasn't won with a finish since he had a rear naked choke in March of 2019. And his finishes are pretty much against tin cans. So if Wood does win, I do expect it to be via decision. And I don't think he's going to be able to do enough volume-wise against a big and long Delgado, who is full of confidence right now and will be willing to take chances. You don't see a lot of that from Wood. He stays within the game plan. Now, Nathaniel needs to mix in his good kicks here to find a path to victory, but I am taking the young Jose Delgado. I'm avoiding this on any parlays. This is a really fantastic fight this early in the card. Moving on, we have Ludovit, Mr. Highlight Klein. 30 years old with a 23-5-1 record, taking on Mateusz Rebecki. 33 years old with a 20-3 record. Again, for the prelims, this is another fantastic fight between 2 men in their primes. They're both coming off tough losses, and are looking to get a win so they could keep getting big fights in a deep and talented lightweight division. Breaking it down, Ludovit, he has a southpaw stance. He's a Cage Warriors and Octagon alum. He's on a one-fight losing streak, but is 4-1-1 since 2023. 9 of his 23 wins are via knockout, 8 via submission, so 17 of his 23 wins via finish. And he is rocking a 6.5-inch reach advantage and a 4.5-inch leg reach advantage. Now, Mateusz trains out of American Top Team. His last 2 fights have been Fight of the Night. He's a Dana White Contender Series alum. He's on a one-fight losing streak and is 4-2 since 2023. 9 of his 20 wins are via knockout, 7 via submission, so 16 of his 20 wins via finish, and 2 of his 3 losses are via knockout. Now, Mateusz is definitely going to throw in some takedown attempts in this fight. He has in his last few fights. I expect him to look to take advantage of this because Klein, he has some very powerful strikes, but has struggled in grappling. Although he has stuffed the likes of Thiago Moises, Mateusz Gamrot grappled him to death. Now, Klein has a good length advantage, so if Rebecki looks to close distance, he has to make him pay for the entrances. I do expect him using that stiff jab, some good distance attacks as well, but both men could be susceptible to just turning their fights into brawls, kind of have that clang and bang, so this should be fun for us fight fans. They both have good counterattacks as well. I just expect Klein to have the power and speed advantage. For that reason, I'm taking Ludovit Klein, but again, I'm avoiding this on any parlay. Anything is possible here. Moving on to the prelim headliner, we have Ikram Aliskerov, 32 years old with a 16-2 record and the number 15 next to his name, taking on Jungyung the Iron Turtle Park, 34 years old with a 19-6 record. Now, again, this fight being on the prelims as well just shows you how deep this pay-per-view card is. Another fight between 2 men in their primes at 32 and 34. Ikram's obviously ranked and is the favorite, but Park is used to proving people wrong. He's been an underdog almost his whole UFC career. We haven't seen Aliskerov have to defend many takedowns. I wouldn't be surprised if Park tries to take advantage of that as he is very well-rounded. But breaking it down, Ikram has a Sambo style. He also has a southpaw stance. He's a 2012, 2014, 2015, and 2016 World Combat Sambo champion. He's a Brave, Fight Nights Global, Eagle FC, and Contender Series alum. He's on a one-fight winning streak, 3-1 since 2023. 7 of his 16 wins are via knockout, 5 via submission, so 12 of his 16 wins via finish, and both of his losses are via knockout. And he is rocking a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, Jungyung trains out of Korean Top Team. He has the most total head strikes landed in a fight in UFC middleweight history. He had 254 straight to the dome against John Phillips. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 4-1 since 2023. 6 of his 19 wins are via submission, 5 via knockout, so 11 of his 19 wins via finish. Now, this is a hard fight to predict as well. Park is very durable, and I think the longer it goes, the more it's going to favor him in this fight. I do think Park needs takedowns to wear on Ikram to win this fight, but Ikram should control the distance and have success with his striking arsenal, including his nice head and body kicks. Now, this would be the biggest win for either man this far in the UFC. A loss here does put them at the deep end of the division in their prime. For the sake of picking, I'm taking Ikram Aliskerov, but I'm also avoiding this on any parlays. I do see many ways that Jungyung Park could win this fight. But let's jump into the main card on pay-per-view. One of the last few pay-per-views. Hopefully Paramount Plus, we don't have pay-per-view action anymore. We get Alexander Rocket Rakic, 33 years old with a 14-5 record and the number 7 next to his name, taking on Azamat, the professional Mirzakhanov, 36 years old with an undefeated 15-0 record, and the number 10 next to his name. Now, after Aiemann got busted for LGD 4033 metabolites, which according to the internet helps for muscle building to increase lean muscle mass, strength, and endurance, which seems like pretty big benefits as a cheater, if you ask me. Well, after that suspension, he was supposed to fight Johnny Walker, but ended up fighting Brenson Ribeiro, and he got a quick finish. Now, Aiemann came to the UFC later in his fighting career and has looked great. You know, he whips out some very fast and powerful loopy strikes. He kind of fires them from low because he's usually the smaller fighter in the division. And Alexander, although he is on a 3-fight losing streak, he's an animal. He is an athletic specimen who has to get a win, and I do think is more technical and could match Aieman's speed and power. There is going to be a ton of violence kicking off the pay-per-view here right out of the gate, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Breaking it down, Alexander trains out of American Top Team. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He is on a 3-fight losing streak, although one of them was due to injury. He is only 1-3 since 2021. He has battled multiple surgeries and injury issues. 9 of his 14 wins are via knockout, and he's got length on him. He's got a 6.5-inch reach advantage and a 5-inch leg reach advantage. Now, Aiemann has a southpaw stance. He's a Ring of Combat, Fight Nights Global, Brave, and Contender Series alum, and he's undefeated on a 15-fight winning streak. He's 3-0 since 2023, and 11 of his 15 wins are via knockout. Now, I think that Rakic's leg kicks will be able to take out Aieman's forward pressure, and he could use that length to kind of let combos rip, you know, stick and move, circle the octagon, control the distance and the pace of this fight. With that said, I do expect plenty of collisions in close distance and would be shocked if this went to a decision. I expect Murzakanov to be wildly aggressive and Rakic to be more defensive and strategic to start this fight. But I am taking Alexander Rakic. I am avoiding this on any parlays as well. Aiemann throws straight gas. He lands. I am concerned. Moving on, we have Alexander Drago Volkov. 36 years old with a 38-11 record and the number 2 next to his name. Taking on Jailton Maldonado Almeida. 34 years old with a 22-3 record and the number 5 next to his name. Now, this fight is a true clash of style showdown, and Volkov's accustomed to this position at this point in his career. I mean, Volkov actually offensively wrestled against Cyril Gahn, but he was also taken down. He avoided takedowns from Pavlovich, Alexander Romanov, and Marcin Tybura, but against Aspinall, he got his fair share. Now, Jailton is probably the most grappling-heavy opponent Volkov has faced since he fought Curtis Blades back in 2020. He did lose that fight, but over the course of these 5 years, he's improved drastically with takedown defense, and I do expect Volkov to have a huge advantage in striking, but the question is going to be, can he avoid the takedowns early in this fight? If it goes past the first round, I do think Volkov will have the advantage. Breaking it down, Alexander has a 3rd Dan black belt in Sushin Gen, a black belt in BJJ, and a brown belt in Kyushin Karate. He's an M1 alum and former champ with 1 successful title defense, and a Bellator alum and former champion. He has the second most significant strikes landed in UFC heavyweight division history at 1,138. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 3-1 since 2023. 24 of his 38 wins are via knockout, and he does have a 4-inch leg reach advantage. Now, Jailton has an orthodox stance. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a future FC Thunder Fight and Contender Series alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, 5-1 since 2023. 13 of his 22 wins are via submission, 8 via knockout, so 21 of his 22 wins via finish, and 2 of his 3 losses are also via knockout. Now, Jourdain is still in his prime. A win here could put him right in title contention. I just feel like Volkov is so savvy and prepared to fight an opponent like Almeida right now. And also, if Curtis Blades can knock out Jourdain, I think Volkov is going to get him out of there. I mean, Jourdain, of course, will shoot for takedowns right away. And again, if Volkov can defend them, maybe get taken down but get back up, I don't see how Jourdain is going to win this fight unless he gets a submission victory. For that reason, I'm taking Alexander Volkov. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Umar Nurmagomedov, 29 years old with an 18-1 record and the number 2 next to his name, taking on Mario Bautista, 32 years old with a 16-2 record and the number 8 next to his name. Now in this fight, we're going to learn how good Mario Bautista really is. I mean, honestly, he is a tough opponent for Umar stylistically, and I think Umar, who's not even in his prime yet at 29, is a better grappler and striker. If Mario can pressure Umar and put it to him for 15 minutes and get takedowns of his own, maybe he could tire him out because he is relentless. If he can find some openings, maybe he could steal a close decision. Breaking it down, Umar has a combat sambo style. He trains out of Eagles MMA. He is a 2015 combat sambo world champion. He's a Fight Nights Global and PFL alum. He has the second highest control time percentage in bantamweight history at 44.5%. He also has the highest top position percentage in bantamweight history at 42.4%. The highest significant strike accuracy percentage in bantamweight history at 63.1%. And the second highest striking differential in bantamweight history at 3.0. He is on a one-fight winning streak and is 3-1 since 2023. 7 of his 18 wins are via submission. Now, Mario also trains here in Phoenix out of the MMA lab. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's an LFA alum. He's on an 8-fight winning streak. 6 of his 16 wins are via submission, and he does have a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, Mario is probably one of the more dedicated, determined, and gritty fighters in the UFC. I just feel like Umar is more skilled. I don't think Umar needs to get takedowns to win this fight, but I do think Mario does. Can Mario make this his style of a fight? If he does, he could win, like he did against Jose Aldo. I just think Umar wins the exchanges and defends takedowns at a high clip. For that reason, I'm taking Umar Nurmagomedov. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on to the 2 title fights. We get Mackenzie Dern, 32 years old, with a 15-5 record and the number 5 next to her name, taking on Virna Kakara Jindaroba, 37 years old, with a 22-3 record and the number 1 next to her name. Now, this is a very interesting situation for the interim title. Zhang Weilei is moving up to fight Valentina Shevchenko. I personally love Mackenzie Dern. I mean, she's beautiful. She's great, right? But I think there were more deserving women to fight Virna for the title who are more of a clear option. Now, Mackenzie is very skilled. She is in her prime at 32 years old. She has improved with her striking. I just scratched my head at why she's fighting for the title here. With that said, Dern defeated Virna back in December of 2020. She won the fight via decision. In the first fight, Mackenzie won the striking battle. She was 0 for 5 on her takedown attempts, and Virna went 1 for 1. Since then, Virna has shot a bajillion amounts of takedowns. I expect a much higher clip from Virna, and that's going to be the story of the rematch. You know, Virna has only lost to Amanda Hebos since 2020 and is dominated with her wrestling and BJJ, but Mackenzie is a true specialist. She has great takedowns, defense, and BJJ. Breaking it down, Mackenzie has a BJJ style with a 3rd-degree black belt in BJJ. She trains out of RVCA. And she's a beast. I mean, she won the 2015 ADCC World Championships, which is literally the best of the best. But that doesn't, her accolades don't stop there. In 2015 and 16, she won the Worlds and the World Cup. In 2014, she also won the Nogi Worlds. And in 2015, she won the World Cup at 55 kilograms and in the absolute division. 3 of her last 5 fights have been Performance of the Night and Fight of the Night. She's showing up. She's showing out. Probably why she's fighting for a title. She has the second most post-fight bonuses in women's strawweight history at 7. She's tied with Ronda Rousey for the second most post-fight bonuses in UFC women's history with 7, behind Jessica Andrade. She has the most submission wins in UFC women's strawweight history with 5. The most submission attempts in strawweight history was 16. She has the second most submission wins in UFC women's history with 5, behind Jillian Robertson. She's tied with Rose Namajunas and Amanda Lemos for second most finishes in UFC history, or women's strawweight history, with 5. She's a Legacy FC, LFA, and Invicta alum. She's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023, and 8 of her 15 wins are via submission. Now, Vera has a black belt in BJJ and a green-white Prajid in Muay Thai. She's an Invicta alum and former champ with 1 title defense. She's on a 5-fight winning streak, and 14 of her 22 wins are via submission. Now, honestly, I do expect another decision fight where both women, as grapplers, do throw in some takedown attempts. They showcase their BJJ, but majority of the fight is striking, and Mackenzie is the more willing striker. Also, again, I've mentioned this many a times before, there is somewhat of a mental edge when having a win against your opponent in the first fight. I do think that's going to help Mackenzie be more loose because she had success in the striking back in 2020. But even if Vera does get takedowns, I don't think she's going to be able to hold Mackenzie on her back and hold that top control. You know, Mackenzie's going to throw up submission attempt after submission attempt. She's great at creating space. The only way Vera wins is a decision by holding her down. I think Mackenzie Dern is able to get back up and strike her way to victory and become the new UFC strawweight champion. So I am taking Mackenzie Dern. We are putting her on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Mackenzie should thank Uncle Dana for this opportunity, though. You know some other women's in the strawweight division are not happy about that. Then in the heavyweight main event, we have Tom Aspinall, 32 years old with a 15-3 record, taking on Cyril Bongaman Gain, 35 years old with a 13-2 record and the number 1 next to his name. Now, after more than a year off, we finally get the return of Tom Aspinall. I mean, Cyril is the most fun and athletic heavyweight striker in UFC history, in my opinion. But Tom has amazing wrestling, which is clearly a weakness of Cyril Gane. You know, he's tried to improve that over the course of the last couple of years. But Tom made slight work out of other talented strikers like Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov. But Cyril has movement and speed that those others don't have. Pretty much athletic ability. Now, Gane has been finished by elite strikers. But on paper, this is a very fun fight. I think Tom Aspinall is the guy that has been grinding in the gym. He's been trying to prepare for John Jones, so watch out. Breaking this down, Tom trains at a Team Calbon. He has a black belt in BJJ. 7 of his 9 wins have been Performance of the Night. He's been showing up. He's showing out. He's a Cage Warriors alum. He's currently the undisputed, but was also the interim heavyweight champ with 1 successful title defense. He has the shortest average fight time in UFC history at 2 minutes and 2 seconds. He has the second most knockdowns per 15 minutes in UFC history at 4.09. He has the highest number of significant strikes landed per minute in UFC heavyweight history at 8.07. He has the largest striking differential in UFC history at 5.18. He has the least bottom position time in UFC history at .01. He has the lowest bottom position percentage in UFC history at 0.09%. He was the 2023 Breakthrough Fighter of the Year, the 2024 Comeback Fighter of the Year. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. He is technically undefeated in the UFC, but he did have that knee injury against Curtis Blades, which gave him a loss. Cost me a lot of money. 12 of his 15 wins are via knockout, 3 via submission, so all 15 of his wins via finish. Now, Cyril trains out of the MMA factory. 2 of his last 4 fights have been performance of the night or fight of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He's also a former interim UFC heavyweight champion. He's tied with Andrei Arlovsky and Cain Velasquez for second longest win streak in UFC heavyweight history with 7. He was the 2021 Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. He's a former TKO alum and heavyweight champ with 2 successful title defenses. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, 2-1 since 2023. 6 of his 13 wins are via knockout, and he also has a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, Cyril Gane hasn't been super active. He's kind of been waiting in the wings. He also filmed a Netflix movie, and I just don't think he's been training at the level that Tom has, and I don't think he's as skilled as Tom anyways. Sure, he is very elite and has his own skill set with his movement and his kickboxing striking arsenal, but the only path I see for Cyril is if he could avoid takedowns, stay kickboxing, stick and move, separate himself, avoid that quick power of Tom, and have no lapses for 5 complete rounds. For that reason, I'm saying, and still, I'm taking Tom Aspinall. We're putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. But how about a pay-per-view card? The heavyweight championship, the interim strawweight championship, Umar Mario box office. We got Volkov Almeida. That's really going to take the future championship path for the heavyweight interesting. Alexander Rakic and Azamat Murzakanov, absolute banger. Ikram Aliskerov, Jungyang Park in the prelims, fantastic fight. Ludovit, Klein, Mateusz, Rebecki, Jose Delgado, Nathaniel Wood. I mean, this is an absolute banger of a card, and I previewed it an 8 out of 10 for a reason. But after the Steelers win on Sunday Night Football in the Throbies, it's sadly back to the Apex next Saturday. Although there are some really good matchups and some ranked fights in this Apex card, the headliner is 12th ranked Steve Garcia and 13th ranked David Onama in the featherweight division. Well, that's episode 121. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.